It shouldn't be a surprise to any of us that one of the first steps to living healthy can start right here in the garden, with eating healthy. Hi, I'm Alan Smith. You know, I also consider gardening as a sort of food for the soul. The time I spend out in my garden allows me to connect to living things, which sustains and fortifies me. As Americans are living longer and longer lives on average, it's more important for us to care for our bodies so we can enjoy all of those extra years ahead. Eating right is one of the keys to a healthy body. But if you think you have to deprive yourself of good things to eat in order to stay healthy, think again. You know, some of the delicacies I grow in my garden are so good, you'd almost think they're bad for you, but they're not. Today we'll travel to the Iceberg lettuce fields of Central California, the salad bowl of America, to see how this healthy crop is made available to us all year long. We'll talk to an organic producer of baby salad greens and learn about the care needed to bring these little delicate and delicious vegetables to our table. We'll meet a master chef who not only grows his own salad greens to use in his restaurant, but he also tops them with a vinaigrette dressing that's out of this world. And he'll share the recipe with you. There's nothing like the taste of fresh herbs, but where do chefs get them during the cold months? Well, they go to a person like French gardener Janine Winters, who uses modern technology to provide the key ingredient to time-honored dishes. Of course, a key ingredient to many salad dressings is olive oil, but not all olive oil is created equal. We'll talk with an expert and learn the differences between the many varieties, as well as the health benefits they provide. And finally, after I show you how to make a healthy and tasty fresh spinach salad, I'll take you to my vegetable garden, where we'll look at mixing salad greens and flowers in two different ways, for planting in the garden and for eating in salads. I've got a healthy dose of delicious things to eat in this show, so don't go away. This is one of the most perishable and delicate vegetables we eat. It's also one of the most popular. It's lettuce. And believe it or not, Americans eat on average 30 pounds of this green stuff every year. Now here at the end of the century, we're eating almost 5 times more than we did in 1900. Well, you might wonder why this is. Well, we certainly are eating much better these days, but it has more to do with availability. Thanks to a mild climate and our California farmer friends, you can find lettuce in every produce department, in every grocery store, every day of the year. Even though we're well into the fall, this field of iceberg lettuce is coming along nicely. It'll be ready to harvest in just a few weeks. By the way, iceberg happens to be the most popular variety. It's probably because of its longevity in the refrigerator, remaining fresh up to 2 weeks, while other varieties like romaine will last only about 10 days. And butterheads and leaf lettuces only about a week. And when it comes to choosing a lettuce, if nutrition is what you're after, you'll always want to go for the darkest leaf possible, because the darker they are, the more nutritious. In the case of a head lettuce like iceberg, those center whiter leaves don't contain nearly as much of that good stuff for you as those outer green leaves. Baby mixed greens like these have become popular for salads because they're easy to prepare and they're loaded with flavor. Here on this farm, they grow them organically from March until November. Mark Marino, farm manager, oversees the production of these mixed greens.
The baby mixed greens are so popular these days because the public really has a chance to get a quality, fresh, organic product that's readily available. And we've put a lot of work into their presentation and growth here at Earthbound Farms to make sure that they receive a really clean product that has been grown with a lot of care and precision, that also looks good and tastes good. The fact that we do cut them by hand ensures that there won't be any machine damaging to the young tender leaves, and thus when the consumer receives their product, it'll look like it just came from the field, which it did.
Having these delicious salad mixes available to us through the cold months makes getting enough leafy vegetables in our diet that much easier. There's no question that a fresh green salad is one of the best things for us to eat. These leafy greens are full of vitamins, minerals, as well as folic acid. Whenever the opportunity presents itself, I ask chefs for recipes for their favorite salad dressings. Peter Brave makes a popular and simple dressing that brings out the best flavor of the greens.
We're going to start off with a little bit of smooth prepared mustard, Dijon style. Go ahead and put about a tablespoon in the bowl. We'll put about a teaspoon, depending on your preference of how strong you want it, of garlic. And then this is my key ingredient. I love the balsamic vinegar. We're going to do about 1/3 of a cup of balsamic vinegar. We're going to go ahead and whisk this all together. Add a little bit of seasoned salt. Can I get the olive oil? And once again, that's to your choice. If you want a little bit saltier, a little bit less salty, you can just go ahead and decide that yourself. Now I'm going to add 1/3 of a cup of olive oil also. Now, the thing that's so nice about the balsamic vinegar, whereas you used to use like 1/3 vinegar, 2/3 oil, with this you can use almost equal amounts. So on the recipe I call for 1/3 of a cup of the balsamic vinegar and 1/3 of a cup of the olive oil, and it makes for a much lighter vinaigrette. I'm going to go ahead and get some of that basil that we picked, and then add that to your vinaigrette, and it's ready to go.
This is so easy to make, and it's delicious. It's no wonder it's become a standard favorite in this restaurant. With this salad dressing, the garden never tasted so good. I've often heard that one of the marks of a good chef is a commitment to use the freshest produce possible. Some take this so seriously, even in winter, they grow some of what they serve, making the garden an extension of the kitchen. Peter Brave has a passion both for fine food and gardening. Combining the two delights his clientele.
Well, we've got about 6 or 8 varieties of salad greens growing right now, different shapes and colors and sizes, and probably about another dozen that we're experimenting with in the just starting stages. Now, one of the fun things about doing so many of these different varieties of lettuce, I get inspiration for ideas in all different ways. This oak leaf is a good example. Seeing it just the other day, I had an idea of it being on a nice white plate, and thinking of how nice a presentation that would make. So what I'll do is I'll harvest this whole, just roots and all, take it back to the restaurant, clean it up, and do a wonderful little salad first course for it down at the restaurant. And that seems like something that, you know, we'll be able to do in growing the stuff that I might not be able to do if I just had it shipped in or something. We're experimenting with tomatoes and cucumbers. These are all varieties of things that we're growing indoor at this time of the year. But we want to move outdoors next year and grow cantaloupes and cucumbers and corn and just about everything that you could locally, which is a lot of stuff at this part of the country. So we hope to do many different things.
As we've seen with Peter, using fresh ingredients from your garden, whether in a salad, an entree, or even in a simple herbal seasoning, can do nothing but enhance the flavor of a superb meal. Fresh herbs are being used more today than ever before, even during the winter. With so many chefs demanding freshness and full flavor, it makes you wonder where they go to find it. Janine Winters grows fresh herbs year-round and grows them hydroponically. She ships them fresh from her farm to restaurants across the country.
You will not catch a French chef cook with dry herbs if he can get his hands, and he'll pay the price, because this is what's going to make his restaurant, and that's what makes a restaurant here. Here you control it. 12 months out of the year, you have your herbs, and they need that consistently for their customers. When they have a dish or require certain herbs, they have to have it, and we are able to give them that. You make something real special, and your clientele in restaurants demand certain herbs in their salad, and you know that makes a difference between a salad and a great salad. And it's so pretty when you decorate a plate with fresh herbs. Chefs around the world garnish with herbs all the time. Every dish is an art piece.
Isn't it amazing how much you can produce in such a small area when plants are grown hydroponically? It's just another way technology is influencing the flavor of American kitchens. For thousands of years, the oil extracted from the olives of trees such as these have been used for many things. Today, it's become more apparent that there are some health benefits when we include this oil in our diets. Tom MacArthur, an olive oil connoisseur, carries over 40 varieties from around the world in his store, The Bountiful Basket, in Carmel, California.
Olive oil has three primary styles: buttery, creamy oil, generally golden in color, generally produced from fully ripe olives. The second style is what we call fruity. From mid-ripe olives, the fruity taste has got a little bit of leaf to it, faint green. You can taste the Licino olive, the Pendolino olive. And then the third style is the more bold, herbaceous, peppery oil, the green oil. Green gold, if you like. Just a wonderful oil for people who've never tasted herbaceous oil. If I was buying oil for somebody, I would probably head toward the green gold and let them taste something they've not frequently tasted before. There are several health benefits. One of the more obvious being that you can use it for salad and you'll eat a lot more salads. Now, secondly, it's quite free of cholesterol, very low saturated fat content. But despite all that, there are many people who believe that olive oil, in fact, does a major job of cleansing the arteries from the effects of cholesterol.
There's so many different oils out there for us to choose from. How do you select, or how do you even get toward olive oil?
I think people are moving toward good olive oil for several reasons. People are spending much more time preparing food together, eating salads, taking the time to buy what is not only good for them, but tastes good as well. Not all health foods taste good.
That's right.
Olive oil does.
It's encouraging to know that there are still some things that taste delicious and are good for you. When many of us think of eating healthier, we tend to think of reducing calories and fat, but there are also more serious issues to consider. For instance, many experts are telling us that we're not getting enough calcium in our diets. You see, calcium helps in the fight against bone disease, such as osteoporosis. Surprisingly, spinach is one of the vegetables highest in calcium, 244 milligrams per cup. Now, this really didn't mean a lot to me until I compared it to milk, which has 300 milligrams per cup. So you can see they're very close. Another good reason to eat spinach is that it's loaded with iron. I like using spinach fresh in salads, along with some fresh fruit. I start by rinsing and removing the stems of 2 bundles of spinach. And to this I add a couple of fresh pears or oranges, thinly sliced. And to keep the pears from turning brown, I squeeze a touch of lemon juice over them. To the pears, I'm adding some thinly sliced rings of red onion. And to give this salad some extra crunch, I've toasted about a cup of walnuts on a baking sheet. Now, it only takes about 15 minutes in the oven at 300 degrees. Now, I've used walnuts, but you could use pecans or almonds. For me, the dressing is the finishing touch on any salad. One that I often use that complements the flavor of the spinach and the sweetness of the pears is a basic vinaigrette using balsamic vinegar. To about 1/4 of a cup of the vinegar, I add the same amount of honey and about 1/3 of a cup of extra virgin olive oil. And I always add a little water. About 1/4 of a cup is all you need. Now for a little spice. I like to use about 2 cloves of crushed fresh garlic, 1 teaspoon of lemon pepper, and about 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Then I just stir the mixture until it's well blended. There's just something about the chemistry of the honey and the balsamic vinegar. When they come together, they're the perfect accent for this salad. Now I'll wait to add the dressing until I'm ready to serve the salad, and then I'll just toss it all together. During the spring, I find myself spending a lot more time in my garden. And one of my favorite places to work is my vegetable garden. I suppose it's because I have such a hearty appetite. But the real reason is that I have these raised beds in this garden, which make my work so much easier. Let me show you how I put them together. I started with a 6-foot square bed. and I used 2x10 lumber, attaching them with wood screws. Now, if you'd like the detailed information on how to build these, you can always check out my website. I think raised beds are ideal for anyone who has tough soil conditions to work in. My soil is heavy clay, so it was much easier in my vegetable garden to build up the soil rather than to amend the whole area. Another benefit to this approach to gardening is that in that the soil is raised, it warms earlier in the spring and stays warmer later in the season, so it extends my season for growing vegetables. Should the temperature drop suddenly, because I have such manageable raised beds, it's easy for me to cover them with frost blankets or cold frames. You know, I've discovered that gardening like this can be a great teaching tool. Children love the idea of having a self-contained space they can call their own. They can have great fun with this by planting seeds in the shape of their name or initials, and it's a wonderful way for them to learn self-reliance and responsibility. Ask any gardener what they enjoy the most about the spring, and they'll almost always tell you it's the beautiful flowers and the garden-fresh vegetables. I'd say I'd have to agree, because I'm always looking for ways to combine these two elements in my garden. I think that vegetables can be as attractive as flowers. Just take a look at this butter crunch lettuce. Now, while flowers may seem like an unlikely candidate for the vegetable garden, they do add their own touch or flavor, and I mean quite literally. These little violas don't taste too bad. Now, not everyone has this much space to grow vegetables and flowers together, but you can create the same effect by using edibles as ornamentals in a container. Let me show you. Last fall, I planted about 20 tulip bulbs in this container. Once they started to emerge in the early spring, I planted some parsley and 2 types of lettuce. I really like the combination of colors and textures this creates. Of course, not every combination is edible. I certainly wouldn't eat these tulips, but you can bet this parsley and lettuce will find its way to the kitchen. Now, some combinations for summer I've enjoyed are ornamental peppers with virtually any kind of flower, as well as the classic combination of roses and rosemary. Now, if you'd like more information on interesting combinations of edible ornamentals, just check out our website. So often, people are surprised that many flowers are actually edible. Take this brightly colored nasturtium, for instance. It has a very distinct, almost peppery, spicy flavor, which makes it a unique addition to any salad. This idea of eating blooms isn't so strange when you consider that if a fruit is edible, then the flower it came from is more than likely edible. Now, just because you can eat a flower doesn't necessarily mean it's always going to taste good. The large blossoms of squash, for instance, don't have much flavor, but many chefs stuff the blooms with other vegetables and cheese for a tasty side dish that's certainly out of the ordinary. Not all edible flowers have to be related to a fruit or vegetable we commonly eat. Roses, for example, produce a hip, or a fruit, late in the fall that's rarely eaten. But the flowers and petals are often used by chefs in salads, to garnish a dish, or even coated with sugar to decorate cakes. Other common garden flowers we can eat include daylilies, pansies, as well as the blooms of geraniums. As you might expect, many herbs produce edible flowers as well, like this borage. Its tiny sky blue flowers are often used in salads. Lavender also provides a flower we can eat. Now, if you decide to try some of these, it's important to know just exactly what you're eating and that it's safe. And make sure that no pesticides have been used on any of the flowers you harvest. You really can't go wrong growing your own salad greens. The very act of preparing the soil, sowing the seed, and nurturing young plants to maturity is healthy for the mind and soul. And when it's all said and done, and you enjoy the fruits of your labor, it's healthy for your body as well. If you'd like more information on some of the ideas in today's show, just check out my website. That's pallensmith.com. From the garden, I'm Alan Smith.
this garden I dream of a bed of flowers. Bluebirds sing of the beauty all around us. And every time the sun comes out, I can't help but smile. Oh, no, I can't help but smile.